Cole Harper woke to the smell of expensive coffee and the kind of silence that only came from wealth. The absence of sirens, garbage trucks, neighbors shouting through thin walls. His neck screamed in protest. Wrong angle, wrong chair, wrong everything. He blinked against October sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. Lake Michigan stretched gray and infinite beyond the glass whitecaps visible even from here 40 stories up. Sailboats looked like toys from this height. Where the hell was he? The penthouse snapped into focus piece by piece. Minimalist furniture that probably cost more than his entire year's salary. Leather couch beneath him, all clean lines and Italian craftsmanship. Cashmere blanket tangled around his legs, softer than anything he'd ever owned. Abstract art bleeding color across white walls. Rothko prints, maybe Pollock, the kind of paintings he'd seen in Art Institute field trips with Maya, but never understood. Glass coffee table holding architecture magazines he'd never read. Everything curated, expensive, cold. His work shirt hung on a chair across the room, navy blue fabric with C. Harper Sterling Transport embroidered in white thread over the pocket. The shirt he'd been wearing 12 hours ago. His phone buzzed against the floor where it had fallen. 17 missed calls, 43 texts. The screen wouldn't stop lighting up notifications cascading like an avalanche. Rachel Sterling stood in the kitchen area, open-concept granite counters commercial-grade espresso machine, gleaming like a spaceship wearing his work shirt. Just his shirt. It fell to mid-thigh sleeves rolled to her elbows, revealing forearms that looked too thin, too fragile for someone who commanded a $340 million technology company. CEO of Sterling Technologies. His boss's 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 boss. And she was wearing his uniform like a nightgown. Her hands trembled around a white ceramic coffee mug. Dark hair hung loose around her shoulders, no longer pinned in that severe updo from last night's gala. Eyes red but clear, mascara smudged beneath them. She looked human, vulnerable. Nothing like the woman in the corporate headshots, the one who stared out from earnings reports with steel in her gaze. Cole's chest tightened. He sat up too fast, head spinning. Ms. Sterling. Did we sleep together? Her voice steady, but her knuckles white against the ceramic. Direct question. No preamble. Very her. No, ma'am, we didn't. She set the mug down on the granite counter with a click that echoed through the space. Then why is the board already calling for your termination? She checked her iPhone, scrolled with her thumb. By the time you get home, you'll have an email from HR demanding a meeting. Probably already sent. He stood legs unsteady and reached for his jacket draped over the chair beside his shirt. I don't understand. I helped you get home safely. That's all I did. I know that. She turned her phone toward him. The screen showed a grainy black and white security photo timestamp glowing in the corner. 2:47 a.m. Elevator. His arm around her waist, her head against his shoulder. The angle suggested intimacy, suggested everything, proved nothing except that he'd been helping an intoxicated woman to her door. But perception, as they said in all those corporate training videos he'd sat through, was reality. This went out on the company's internal Slack channel, Nashta General, at 6 o'clock this morning. Rachel continued, voice flat. Professional. Like she was delivering quarterly earnings, not describing his professional execution. By 6:30, it had been forwarded to half the executive team via direct message. By 7, Robert Brennan was calling an emergency board meeting. By 7:15, 3 board members had emailed me directly asking for your immediate termination. His phone buzzed again, the screen filled with notifications. Slack messages from co-workers he barely knew. Texts from fellow drivers, voicemails piling up like debris after a storm. Mrs. Rodriguez Maya's babysitter, Tom from the driver's pool, numbers he didn't recognize. He looked down at the notifications. One from Maya's school. His stomach dropped. But perception, Mr. Harper, is everything in a company like this. Rachel picked up her coffee, took a sip, grimaced. Too hot or too bitter, he couldn't tell. Facts matter less than optics. Truth matters less than narrative. And right now the narrative being written about us is that the CEO got drunk at a company event and spent the night with her driver. But that's not what happened. I know that. You know that. But everyone else. She gestured at the city beyond the windows, at the invisible thousands who'd already seen that photo, already drawn their conclusions. They're writing their own version of last night, and their version doesn't include the fact that you were decent enough to stay when I asked, that you slept in a chair across the room, that nothing happened except basic human kindness. His phone buzzed with a new email notification. He didn't need to check it to know what it said. 12 hours earlier, none of this existed. 12 hours earlier, he'd just been a driver doing his job. The Palmer House Hilton blazed against the October night, every window glowing chandeliers visible through tall glass doors like crystal constellations. Cole idled the Mercedes S-Class at the entrance engine, purring, watching rain-slicked streets reflect the hotel's grandeur back at itself. Sterling Technologies' 25th anniversary gala. Black ties and champagne flutes and speeches about vision, innovation, disruption, all the words companies loved to use when celebrating themselves. He checked his phone, 9:47 p.m. Text to Maya. Don't forget pancakes tomorrow, the really good ones with chocolate chips. Her reply came within seconds. I won't. Mrs. Rodriguez says you work too much. He smiled, despite the long day. Despite the 3 pickups he'd already done, despite knowing he wouldn't be home until well past midnight. 9 years old and already wiser than him. Brown eyes like her mother Sarah, same way of cutting straight through his excuses and deflections and seeing the truth underneath. Through the glass doors he caught glimpses of the ballroom. Rachel Sterling stood at a podium speaking to a sea of suits and evening gowns. Her voice didn't carry through the glass, but her posture did, straight spine-controlled gestures every inch. The CFO Todd Williams lingered near the bar, nursing something amber in a rocks glass. VP Frank Morrison checked his phone instead of listening to his boss speak, that permanent smirk plastered across his face like a default setting. Cole had driven for Sterling Technologies for 3 years, roughly 1,000 shifts, give or take. He'd ferried executives to O'Hare board members, to meetings visiting clients, to the office tower on Wacker. He'd waited in parking garages and hotel loading docks. He'd heard phone calls he wasn't supposed to hear, seen relationships that weren't supposed to exist, watched the machinery of corporate America grind forward from the front seat of a Mercedes. He'd interacted with Rachel Sterling exactly 4 times in those 3 years. Once the interview 3 years ago, where she'd barely looked up from her MacBook, asking 3 questions in rapid succession while typing emails. Clean driving record good, references fine, available nights and weekends excellent, HR will process your paperwork. 7 minutes total. He'd been hired, twice holding elevator doors when she'd been running late, both times earning a distracted thank you without eye contact. 3 last month when he'd helped VP Patricia Miller, sick with food poisoning from a bad lunch, to the car after a board meeting. Rachel had been in the lobby, had seen him supporting Patricia, had said, "Thank you, Mr. Harper. That was kind of you." First time she'd used his name. 4 times in 3 years. Each time he'd been invisible. Furniture with a pulse. Part of the building's infrastructure, like the HVAC system or the elevators. Todd Williams emerged from the ballroom, tie loosened, top button, undone exhaustion, written across his face in the lines around his eyes. 44 years old and looked 50. CFO of a company growing faster than its systems could handle. He leaned down to Cole's window. Harper. Right. Yes, sir. Todd glanced back at the ballroom, at Rachel still speaking at the crowd that was already thinning despite her words. Something unreadable flickered across his expression. Concern, maybe? Or resignation. Ms. Sterling's going to need a ride home. Maybe in an hour or so. She's... He paused, chose words carefully. Celebrating more than usual tonight. Can you handle that? "Of course, sir." "Good man." Todd straightened, started to walk away, then turned back. "Stay close, Harper. She'll need the help." Weight behind those words. Not a request. A warning. The hour became 2. Cole watched through glass as the party thinned like fog burning off Lake Michigan. Board members departed in town cars. Cole noted timestamps, mentally old construction. Foreman habits dying hard. 10:15, 10:30, 10:40. VP Frank Morrison exited at precisely 10:47 p.m. Cole checked his watch, that same foreman precision, and Cole held the door. Morrison didn't acknowledge him, didn't even glance in his direction, just typed furiously on his iPhone thumbs, moving fast, that smirk deepening into something uglier. He passed close enough that Cole caught his cologne, expensive, aggressive, the olfactory equivalent of a firm handshake, designed to intimidate. Department heads called Ubers. The marketing team left in a cluster, laughing too loud, already drunk. The band packed instruments, drum kit, disassembled cases, clicking shut with the finality of a job completed. Catering staff emerged with rolling bins, champagne flutes clinking like wind chimes as they cleared tables. By 11:30, the ballroom had emptied. By midnight, only Rachel remained. Cole could see her through the glass, alone at a corner table, pushed against the wall, empty champagne glass in her hand, staring at nothing. Expensive dress that probably cost more than his monthly rent. Expensive jewelry catching light. Expensive isolation. Everyone had given speeches about loyalty and partnership tonight, about the Sterling Technologies family, about how they were all in this together, and then they'd all just left. Cole entered the ballroom carefully. His footsteps echoed on marble, too loud, too intrusive, the sound bouncing off high ceilings and expensive acoustics. The space felt cavernous now, designed for hundreds, but holding only 2. Abandoned champagne glasses littered tables, napkins crumpled, a balloon floating near the ceiling, gold and white corporate colors. Rachel didn't notice him until he stood beside her table. She looked up slowly, eyes unfocused, mascara-smudged lips stained dark from wine. "Miss Sterling, I'm Cole Harper. I'm here to drive you home." She laughed, bitter, sound-sharp edges. "The driver, of course. Everyone gave speeches about loyalty tonight, partnership, family." She gestured at the empty ballroom with her champagne glass, nearly dropping it. And then they all just walked away. Every single one of them. She tried to stand, wobbled, grabbed the table edge for support. "I don't get drunk." Her words slurred slightly, fighting for control and losing. "Did you know that 25 years building this company, never once, not once have I been drunk at a company event?" Cole steadied her elbow. Construction foreman grip, solid but impersonal. "There's a first time for everything, ma'am. Let's get you home." "Home." She repeated the word like it was foreign. "Right. Home." Rain hammered the windshield with October violence. The storm had rolled in from Lake Michigan while he'd waited, turning Lakeshore Drive into a river of taillights and reflections. 40-minute drive to the Gold Coast in good weather. Probably 50 tonight. Cole kept the wipers on high, their rhythm almost meditative. Semis through walls of water as they passed spray, obscuring vision for terrifying seconds. He navigated by muscle memory and construction site caution, assume everything's more dangerous than it looks. Rachel slumped against the passenger window, breath fogging the glass. Silent for 10 minutes. Cole focused on driving, on keeping them safe, on getting her home without incident. Then, voice small and lost. "Do you have family?" Professional boundaries said, "Don't answer personal questions." 3 years of corporate driver training said, "Maintain distance." But something in her voice, the rawness, the need, made him answer truthfully. "Yes, ma'am. A daughter, Maya. She's 9. Your wife died 4 years ago. Ovarian cancer. Stage 4. 18 months from diagnosis to funeral." But he didn't say that part. Silence stretched. Rain filled it, that particular violence of water against glass and metal nature reminding humans how small they were. Then Rachel's walls crumbled like wet sand. I had a son. Her voice fractured. Nobody knows. The board doesn't know. The press doesn't know. I buried it in NDAs and confidentiality agreements and legal paperwork. But I had a son. His name was Michael. He died of leukemia when he was 6 years old. Cole's hands tightened on the wheel. Kept driving. Kept listening. Same year Michael died, my husband Thomas crashed his car on the Kennedy Expressway. Black ice, spun into a semi. Dead before the ambulance arrived. She pressed her forehead against the window. So in 1 year, 1 fucking year, I lost both of them. My son, my husband, everything that mattered. The car hydroplaned on standing water. Cole felt the steering go light tires losing contact with asphalt. He corrected smoothly, construction foreman reflexes, stay calm when things go wrong, and the Mercedes found traction again. Rachel grabbed the dashboard, breathing hard. You're good at this, staying calm when things go wrong. 3 years of single parenthood teaches you that. He glanced at her reflection in the rearview mirror. Teaches you that panic doesn't help, that the only way through crisis is steady hands and clear thinking. Long pause. Rain drummed. Wipers scraped. Somewhere a siren wailed, distant and urgent. Do you know why I drank tonight, Mr. Harper? Really drank, not just held a glass to look engaged at networking events. She turned to him, tears streaming, mascara running. Tonight isn't just the company's 25th anniversary. It's what would have been Michael's 16th birthday. My son would be learning to drive right now, would be complaining about homework and asking for car keys and thinking about colleges. Her voice broke completely. Thomas isn't here to see what we built. Michael will never grow up, and I'm celebrating a company milestone while standing on their graves. Cole didn't have words. What could he possibly say that wouldn't sound empty? You're not rambling, ma'am. He kept his voice gentle. You're grieving. There's a difference. Everyone's sorry. She wiped her eyes, smearing mascara further. At the funerals, everyone was so sorry. Sorry doesn't bring them back. Sorry doesn't fill the silence in my apartment. Sorry doesn't change the fact that I'm alone. She pressed her forehead back against the window. You're just the driver. You're just the man who has to listen to the sad drunk woman talk about ghosts. But he wasn't just the driver anymore. Not really. Not after hearing what she'd lost. Not after understanding why she'd stayed at that table alone, staring at nothing, while everyone else celebrated and left. Some debts can't be paid with money. Only with time. Only with presence. Only with showing up when everyone else walks away. Sarah had understood that. Had lived it during her 18 months of cancer treatment, showing up for every chemo appointment, every scan, every terrible wait for test results that came back worse each time. She'd shown up even when her body was failing, when hair fell out, when food tasted like metal, when pain became the baseline instead of the exception. Make a difference, not just money, Sarah had told him near the end, voice thin from morphine, but eyes still fierce. Help people, not just yourself. Stand for something even when it costs you. He'd promised her he would. And then he'd spent 3 years keeping his head down, driving corporate executives, staying invisible, making enough money to keep Maya fed and clothed and safe. Maybe tonight was the bill coming due on that promise. Sterling Tower rose 40 stories against Chicago's skyline, glass and steel catching city lights like a mirror. Modern architecture. Expensive. The kind of building that screamed success from every angle. The doorman, Frank's 60s kind face weathered by Chicago winters, recognized the company Mercedes and brought an umbrella to Cole's door before he could even put the car in park. Ms. Sterling's had a difficult night. I'll help her upstairs. Frank nodded, pulled out his phone, spoke quietly into it. Harper bringing Ms. Sterling up. Clear him through security. He handed Cole a temporary key card. Unit 24B. Top 2 floors. Just get her inside safe. Underground garage concrete and fluorescent lights. Rachel unconscious against the window breath fogging the glass mascara smudged like bruises. Cole opened her door carefully, unfastened her seatbelt with gentle fingers. She was dead weight. He lifted her, not Princess Carrie that felt too intimate, but supporting her weight properly. Arm around her waist, her arm over his shoulders. Construction foreman muscles earned lifting rebar and drywall, now carrying a grief-stricken CEO to safety. Elevator ride. Building security camera mounted in the corner, red light blinking. He noted it, construction site awareness, always know where the cameras are, but didn't think about what it meant. Just focused on keeping Rachel upright, on not dropping her, on maintaining her dignity, even unconscious. The timestamp glowed 12:37 a.m. He struggled with the key card while supporting her full weight. Dropped it. Once. Twice. Finally got the door open on the third try, one-handed, Rachel's perfume expensive floral overlaid with champagne mixing with his sweat. The penthouse opened before him. Floor-to-ceiling windows showing Chicago's nightscape lights stretching to Infinity Lake, Michigan, dark beyond. Minimalist furniture that looked uncomfortable, all angles and statement pieces. Abstract art on white walls, Rothko bleeding reds and blacks, or maybe Pollock. He still couldn't tell the difference. Everything curated, everything expensive, everything cold despite the temperature. He settled Rachel on the leather couch, found a cashmere blanket in the closet, probably cost more than his rent, and draped it over her carefully, tucked it around her shoulders. As he turned to leave, her hand shot out, gripped his wrist, surprisingly strong for someone unconscious seconds ago. "Don't leave." Eyes still closed, voice desperate. "Please. Everyone always leaves." He knelt beside the couch, her hand still gripping his wrist. "I'll stay until you fall asleep, ma'am. I promise." "Promise. Like a child afraid of the dark." "I promise." Her grip loosened. "Thomas used to promise that too." Voice fading into genuine sleep this time. "Promised he'd always come home. Promised Michael would be okay. Promises don't mean anything." Cole waited until her breathing evened out, until he was certain she was truly asleep and not just unconscious. The difference mattered. He pulled out his phone, 1:47 a.m., texted Mrs. Rodriguez. "Running very late, home by 4 a.m., so sorry, thank you for staying." "No problem, mijo. She's sound asleep. Take your time." Mrs. Rodriguez. 60 years old, wore her rosary like armor against the world, loved Maya like her own granddaughter. Charged him $20 an hour and was worth 3 times that. One of the good ones in a world that seemed increasingly short on good ones. Cole sat in an armchair across from the couch, not close, maintaining professional distance, even alone. Planned to leave at 3, just watch until she was deeply asleep. Just make sure she didn't choke or fall or hurt herself. The penthouse was warm. Too warm. He pulled off his work shirt, undershirt beneath, maintaining modesty, and draped it over the chair back. Checked his phone. ESPN scores. Cubs lost again, season over anyway. Emails, nothing urgent. Calendar reminders for Maya's parent-teacher conference next week. Oil change for the Honda. Anything to stay awake. But exhaustion from 3 years of single parenthood, of being both mother and father, of cooking breakfast and checking homework and helping with science projects and earning enough to keep lights on and heat running and food in the fridge, it all caught up at once. His head tilted back against the chair. Expensive leather, surprisingly comfortable. Eyes closed. Just for a minute. Just to rest them. Just for a minute. Phone slipped from his hand to the floor with a soft thud against expensive carpet. Somewhere in the building's security system, motion-triggered cameras recorded everything. Digital timestamps glowing. Evidence without context. Truth fragmented into frames per second, each one capable of being weaponized. Cole Harper widower and father former construction foreman who'd once built things with his hands slept in a chair in his CEO's penthouse. Innocent. Decent. Doomed. Morning sunlight woke him. His neck screamed construction site injuries, old herniated disc, aggravated by wrong sleeping position. He blinked against the brightness, disoriented. Coffee smell. Starbucks Pike Place blend. He recognized the aroma. Sarah had loved it. Rachel stood in the kitchen area wearing his work shirt, making espresso with the methodical precision of someone fighting a hangover through sheer force of will. She moved carefully, like sudden movements might shatter her. Cole stood quickly. Too quickly. Head spun. "Ms. Sterling, I'm so sorry. I meant to leave. I just fell asleep." She turned 2 white ceramic mugs in her hands, set one on the granite counter between them. Expression calm but strained. Eyes red but clear. "Good morning, Mr. Harper. I know what happened. I remember most of last night, not all of it, but enough. You were kind. You stayed when I asked you to, and you kept your distance." She gestured to the couch blanket still perfectly draped where he'd left it. "You're not the kind of man who takes advantage." Relief flooded through him like ice water. "Thank you. I wouldn't. I would never. I believe you." She held up her iPhone. "But it doesn't matter what I believe." Turned the screen toward him. Grainy black and white security photo. Timestamp 2:47 a.m. glowing in the corner. Elevator. Cole supporting Rachel, arm around her waist. Her head against his shoulder. The angle suggested intimacy. Suggested passion. Suggested everything except the truth that he was helping an intoxicated woman to her door, that he'd slept in a chair across the room, that nothing had happened except basic human decency. But the photo told a different story. Photos always did. "This went out on the company's internal Slack channel, Natcher General, at 6 o'clock this morning." Rachel continued, voice flat, professional, like she was delivering quarterly earnings instead of describing his execution. "Posted from an anonymous account. No profile picture, no previous messages, created at 5:55 a.m. specifically to post this photo. By 6:30, it had been forwarded to half the executive team via direct message. I have screenshots of at least 15 separate DM chains discussing it." She scrolled on her phone, showing him. His chest tightened. By 7, Robert Brennan, board chair, was calling an emergency board meeting. By 7:15, 3 board members had emailed me directly asking for your immediate termination. By 7:30, Frank Morrison had sent a company-wide email about reviewing workplace conduct policies. Her jaw tightened. Frank Morrison, who left the gala at 10:47 last night while I was still inside drinking. Who could have helped me? Who chose not to? Cole's phone buzzed on the floor where it had fallen. He picked it up. 17 missed calls. 43 texts. Notifications cascading across the screen like an avalanche. "Mrs. Rodriguez. Mijo people asking about you. Everything okay? Tom fellow driver. Bro, what the hell happened? Unknown number. This is Jennifer Watkins from HR. We need to speak with you Monday morning. 9 a.m. sharp. Please confirm receipt. Unknown number. This can all go away quietly. Call me." That last one made his stomach drop. But perception, Mr. Harper, is everything in a company like this. Rachel picked up her coffee, took a sip. Grimaced. Too hot, too bitter, or maybe just reality tasting wrong. Facts matter less than optics. Truth matters less than narrative. And right now the narrative being written about us, about you and me, is that the CEO got drunk at a company event and spent the night with her driver. But that's not what happened. I know that. You know that. She gestured at the city beyond the windows, at the invisible thousands who'd already seen that photo, already drawn their conclusions, already spread the story. But everyone else, they're writing their own version of last night. And their version doesn't include the part where you were decent enough to stay when I asked. where you slept in a chair across the room maintaining proper distance, where nothing happened except one human being helping another human being through a dark night. She set her mug down on the granite counter with a hollow click that echoed through the space. They see a photo without context. They create their own story, and that story destroys both of us. His phone buzzed again. Email notification. Subject, mandatory meeting to Monday 9 a.m. From Jennifer Watkins, HR Director. Northwestern MBA diploma on her wall. He'd seen it during his hiring interview 3 years ago. The world tilted slightly. He grabbed the counter edge for balance. What do I do? The question came out smaller than he intended. Rachel looked at him. Really looked at him, maybe for the first time in 3 years. Saw past the uniform, past the invisible infrastructure of her daily life. You prepare for war, Mr. Harper, because that's what Monday morning will be. A war. And the people who leaked this photo, they're counting on you to surrender without fighting. She handed him his work shirt. He took it, fabric still warm from her body heat. Don't give them the satisfaction. Cole drove home through Saturday morning traffic in a daze, hands steady on the wheel construction. Foreman, muscle memory, body executing while mind raced, pulled into his apartment complex in Lincoln Park. Brick, 3-flat, modest neighborhood, the kind of place where people knew their neighbors' names and nobody pretended to be something they weren't. Parked the Honda Accord 2015 model bought used after Sarah died because the old car smelled like her perfume and he couldn't breathe in it anymore. Climbed stairs to the second-floor unit. Key in lock. Door opening to the sound of cartoons. PBS Kids. Arthur's voice cheerful and oblivious, explaining some lesson about friendship. Maya sat at the kitchen table in Cubs pajamas, navy blue with the red C, her favorite, eating Cheerios straight from the box leg, swinging because she was still small enough that her feet didn't touch the floor. 9 years old. Brown eyes like Sarah, gap-toothed grin like him. Personality like some perfect combination of both. Mrs. Rodriguez gathered her things. Rosary visible around her neck, silver cross catching morning light. 60 years old face weathered by life, but eyes still kind. Long night, mijo. Careful voice. Had she seen the Slack messages? Did she know he paid her cash from his wallet? Everything he had, 320s and a 10, and thanked her profusely. After she left, Maya bounced over Cheerios box still in hand. Are we still making pancakes? Sunday tradition. Every week since Sarah died. The really good ones with chocolate chips from Sarah's recipe that she'd insisted on writing down during those last clear months before the morphine made everything fuzzy. They moved around the small kitchen and practiced rhythm. Cole measuring Bisquick mix. Sarah had believed in shortcuts. Life's too short to make things from scratch when the box tastes just as good, while Maya cracked eggs with the concentration of a surgeon. 4 years of practice made her good at it, no shells in the bowl anymore. She poured Hershey's chocolate chips with both hands, tongue sticking out slightly, counting under her breath. Mrs. Rodriguez said you had to work really late. Was it important? He flipped pancakes on the griddle, watching bubbles form and pop. Someone needed help getting home safely. That's good. Mom always said helping people matters most. She studied him with those brown eyes, Sarah's eyes seeing too much. Kids always saw too much. Daddy, are you in trouble? How did she always know Sarah had been like that too, reading his micro-expressions, knowing when he was worried before he even acknowledged it himself? What makes you think that you have your worried face, the one you get when ComEd bills come? She climbed onto a chair, chin resting on the table edge. And you're making pancakes really carefully. You only do that when you're thinking hard about something. He knelt to her level spatula, still in hand. Yeah, sweetheart, I might be in trouble. But whatever happens, I need you to remember something. Your dad always tries to do the right thing, even when it's hard. Even when other people don't understand. Okay. She wrapped arms around his neck. Cheerios breath and maple syrup sticky fingers. Okay. But you're not really in trouble. You're the best daddy. Everyone knows that. If only everyone saw what his daughter saw. If only the world ran on 9-year-old logic where doing the right thing meant you were safe. The pancakes burned slightly while he held her. He didn't care. After breakfast, Maya curled on the couch watching Arthur something about the library and a fundraiser, her explaining the plot to him, even though he wasn't really listening. PBS Kids Public Television, free and educational, and exactly what Sarah would have chosen. Cole opened his MacBook at the kitchen table. Older model battery didn't hold charge anymore, power cord permanently attached. The HR email waited, sent 7:47 a.m., while he'd still been standing in Rachel's penthouse trying to understand how helping someone had become a crime. From Jennifer Watkins Jwatkins at sterlingtech.com to Cole Harper Charper at sterlingtech.com. Subject: mandatory meeting. Monday, 9 a.m. Mr. Harper. Your presence is required at a mandatory meeting on Monday, October 23rd at 9 a.m. sharp in Conference Room 12B. This meeting concerns events that occurred Friday evening, Saturday morning. Please confirm receipt of this message. This is not optional. Jennifer Watkins. Director of Human Resources, Sterling Technologies. He read it twice, looked at Maya laughing at Arthur's misadventures, looked at Sarah's photo on the shelf, their wedding at Navy Pier, both of them young and stupid and certain that love conquered everything. Sarah had been wrong about that. Love hadn't conquered stage 4 ovarian cancer. Love hadn't stopped the cells from multiplying, hadn't made chemo work, hadn't prevented her death 18 months after diagnosis. But she'd been right about other things. Make a difference, not just money, she'd said near the end, morphine making her words soft but eyes still fierce. Help people, not just yourself. Stand for something even when it costs you. That's what matters when you're gone. Not the money you made, the difference you left behind. He'd promised her he would. And then he'd spent 3 years keeping his head down, driving corporate executives around Chicago, staying invisible, making enough money to keep Maya fed and clothed and safe, but not making any difference at all. Maybe tonight had been the universe calling that debt due. He made a decision. Wouldn't just defend himself passively. Wouldn't wait for Jennifer Watkins and Robert Brennan and Frank Morrison to decide his fate. Would find out who leaked that photo and why. Would prove his innocence instead of hoping someone else would see the truth. Opened company. Slack technically not supposed to access while off duty, but screw the rules at this point. The Hat General channel was chaos. 300+ messages since that photo posted at 6 a.m., growing in real time. He scrolled up to the beginning. Anonymous user, 6:00 a.m., photo attached. Anyone care to explain this? Our CEO and a company driver leaving her building at 2:47 a.m. Professional conduct much. The replies came fast. At Sarah. Marketing. Wait, is that Cole from the driver pool? At Mike.operations. Definitely him. Saw him at the gala last night. At Jennifer.sales. This is so inappropriate. If a male CEO did this with a female employee, heads would roll. At David. It. Maybe there's context we're missing. At Jennifer.sales. What context makes this okay? He's a subordinate. She's the CEO. Power dynamics, 101. At Frank.Morrison. This is deeply concerning. I've escalated to the board. We have policies for a reason. Cole's jaw tightened. Frank Morrison. Posted at 6:47 a.m., less than an hour after the photo went up. Already escalating. Already weaponizing. He scrolled further. Took screenshots on his iPhone. Began taking notes in his moleskin notebook. Construction foreman habits applied to corporate warfare. Anonymous account created 5:55 a.m. Posted photo at 6:00 a.m. exactly. How did they have access to building security footage? Who could pull that? Morrison's comment at 6:47 a.m. Suspiciously fast response for a Saturday morning, almost like he'd been waiting for it. Todd Williams defending at 7:23 a.m. Let's not jump to conclusions. We don't know what happened. Patricia Miller at 7:45 a.m. Agree with Todd. Innocent until proven guilty should apply here. But the damage was done. The narrative was set. By 8 a.m., or general had devolved into speculation, gossip, virtue signaling. "What you doing, Daddy?" Maya asked from the couch, not looking away from Arthur. "Research, sweetheart. Sometimes when people tell lies about you, you have to find the truth yourself." "Are people lying about you?" "I think so, but I'm going to prove it." She nodded. Satisfied, returned to her cartoon. Complete faith in him. Complete trust that Daddy could fix anything, solve any problem, make everything right. He wished he had her confidence. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text message. "This can all go away quietly. We can settle this without lawyers or public drama. Call me. Marcus Webb, attorney at law." Cole stared at it. Marcus Webb, Frank Morrison's personal attorney. He'd seen the name on documents before letterhead in the back of Morrison's town car once when Cole had driven him to a deposition. Morrison's attorney, offering to settle. Before the HR meeting even happened. Someone was trying to bury this fast, which meant someone had something to hide beyond just the photo. He deleted the text, went back to reading Slack messages, piecing together the narrative being constructed. About him, about Rachel, about that night. Pattern emerging, Morrison's fingerprints everywhere. First to escalate, first to mention policies, first to demand action, like he'd been ready, like he'd been waiting. But why? What did destroying Cole Harper, invisible corporate driver, accomplish? Unless it wasn't really about Cole at all. Unless Cole was just collateral damage. Acceptable loss in a larger war. He opened a new note in his phone. Started a timeline 10:47 p.m. Morrison leaves gala. I saw him 12:37 a.m. Security photo taken of me helping Rachel. 2:47 a.m. Another security photo. Where did this one come from? 5:55 a.m. Anonymous Slack account created 6:00 a.m. Photo posted to #general. 6:47 a.m. Morrison escalates to board. 7:47 a.m. HR demands Monday meeting. 48 hours until that meeting. 48 hours to build a defense. Find evidence, understand the conspiracy forming around him. Outside Chicago stretched gray and endless under October clouds. Saturday morning traffic building. People going about their lives oblivious to his personal crisis. The world didn't stop turning just because his world was ending. His daughter believed in him completely. Sarah's memory demanded he stand for something. Rachel needed someone to prove that doing the right thing still mattered in corporate America. So Cole Harper, widower, father, corporate driver, former construction foreman who'd once built houses with his hands, opened a fresh page in his moleskin notebook and began building something new. A defense, a case, a path through fire. Because he wasn't going down without a fight, not for helping someone, not for basic human decency. Not when his daughter was watching to see what happens to people who do the right thing. The phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. Monday won't go well for you unless you're smart about this. Think about your daughter. Think about your future. Some battles aren't worth fighting. M.W. Marcus Webb again. Morrison's lawyer. Threatening now. Mentioning Maya. Cole's hands shook with rage. He took a breath. Another. Turned back to his laptop. kept reading Slack messages, kept taking notes, kept building his case. Because the only thing worse than fighting and losing would be not fighting at all. And Maya was watching, learning, understanding what her father stood for when the world turned against him. He would show her that integrity mattered, that doing the right thing was worth the cost, even when the cost was everything. Monday morning arrived with the weight of execution day. Cole stood in his only suit, the one he'd worn to Sarah's funeral 4 years ago at St. Michael's Church, and the jacket pulled tight across his shoulders. He'd gained muscle from weekend construction jobs side work to supplement the driver's salary. The pants fit fine, the jacket didn't. Maya watched him from the kitchen table, Cheerios forgotten in her bowl. "Will you be brave, Daddy?" The question gutted him. She asked it the same way Sarah used to before his construction site safety meetings back when workplace accidents could mean someone didn't come home. Before cancer taught them that home was where the real danger lived. "I'll try, sweetheart." That's all Mom ever asked, too. Mrs. Rodriguez arrived early, let herself in with the spare key. She hugged Maya, then looked at Cole with eyes that had seen too much life to believe comfortable lies. "Vaya con Dios, mijo." Go with God. He'd need more than God to survive what was coming. Sterling Technologies headquarters rose 43 stories on Walker Drive, all glass and steel and corporate ambition. Cole had entered through the driver's entrance 1,000 times. Today he walked through the main lobby like a visitor, like someone who didn't belong. Security made him sign in. New protocol. The guard Marcus, mid-50s, usually friendly, wouldn't meet his eyes. Conference room 12B, 12th floor, River North view. He'd driven executives to meetings here, but never attended one himself. The elevator ride felt like ascending to the gallows. Jennifer Watkins waited inside. 40-something Northwestern MBA diploma on the wall behind her, efficiency personified in a charcoal suit. Legal counsel Robert Kane sat beside her 52 yellow legal pad, already covered in notes, reading glasses perched on his nose. And VP Frank Morrison. Morrison stood near the windows, hands in pockets, that permanent smirk, etched deeper than usual. Navy blazer with American flag lapel pin. Northwestern class ring catching light. Everything about him screamed old money country club people who thought the world owed them things. "Mr. Harper, please sit." Jennifer gestured to a chair facing them. Interrogation set up, 3 against 1. Cole remained standing. "Why is Mr. Morrison here? This is an HR matter." "Mr. Morrison brought certain concerns to the board's attention," Jennifer said, voice carefully neutral. "As VP of Sales and a senior executive, he has a vested interest in maintaining company culture and professional standards." Morrison paced behind Cole's chair power move, making him turn to track the threat. Cole stood instead, facing Morrison directly. Construction site instincts never let someone flank you. "The optics here, Harper." Morrison's voice dripped with false concern. "The optics are terrible. You're a driver. She's the CEO. You spent the night in her home. How does that look?" "It looks like I did my job and made sure she got home safely." "Your job is to drive, not to spend the night with your boss." Morrison stopped pacing, turned to face him fully. "You understand the position this puts the company in. The liability. The potential lawsuits if this were reversed. Male CEO, female employee. We'd be crucified in the press." Cole's voice stayed level but hardened. "I didn't spend the night with her. I spent the night in her living room, making sure she didn't choke on her own vomit or fall and hit her head. That's what decent human beings do." Jennifer intervened. "Mr. Harper, please sit." "I'd rather stand if it's all the same to you." Silence stretched. Morrison's smirk deepened. He'd wanted this reaction. Wanted Cole defensive, angry, off balance. Robert Kane cleared his throat. "Mr. Harper, we've reviewed building security footage. You entered Ms. Sterling's residence at 12:37 a.m. Saturday morning. You didn't exit until 7:49 a.m., that's over 7 hours. Can you explain what you were doing during that time? Sleeping in a chair, fully clothed, maintaining appropriate distance. Exactly what I told Ms. Sterling I'd do, stay until she was safely asleep. 7 hours seems excessive for that purpose. I fell asleep. I was exhausted from a 14-hour shift. It wasn't planned. Jennifer made notes on her iPad. Did Ms. Sterling invite you to stay the night? She asked me not to leave her alone. So I didn't. Did you consume alcohol with her? No. Did you engage in any physical contact beyond helping her to her residence? No. Did you make any inappropriate comments or advances? Absolutely not. Morrison leaned against the window frame. Here's what concerns me, Harper. Ms. Sterling was intoxicated, vulnerable. You were in a position of power. You controlled whether she got home safely, whether she was left alone in a compromised state. Some might argue you took advantage of that power dynamic. Cole turned to face him fully. Some might argue the VP who left the gala at 10:47 while she was still inside drinking could have helped her himself. You could have made sure your CEO got home safely. You chose not to. Morrison's smirk faltered. Just for a second. I had other obligations. Right. Other obligations that involved checking your phone every 30 seconds and leaving early while everyone else stayed. Jennifer's voice sharpened. Mr. Harper, let's stay focused on your actions, not anyone else's. But something had shifted. Morrison's confidence cracked slightly. Cole pressed. You escalated this to the board within 47 minutes of that photo being posted on Slack. 6:47 on a Saturday morning. Most people aren't even awake yet, but you were ready to demand action. Almost like you'd been waiting for it. I was concerned about company reputation. Or you saw an opportunity. Gentlemen, Jennifer stood. This meeting is about establishing facts, not trading accusations. Mr. Harper, pending the completion of our investigation, you're being placed on paid administrative leave effective immediately. The words hit like a punch. Administrative leave. You'll surrender your ID badge and company vehicle keys. You're prohibited from entering Sterling premises or contacting employees except through official HR channels. The investigation should conclude within 2 weeks. Cole removed his badge from his wallet, placed it on the conference table with deliberate control, wanted to throw it at Morrison's smirking face, didn't. Set the Mercedes keys beside it with a click that echoed. Morrison's smirk returned victorious. Jennifer's expression remained neutral, professional. We'll be in touch once the investigation concludes. You're free to go. Cole walked out. Morrison exited first victory in every step. The conference room door closed behind them with terrible finality. The lobby felt like walking through enemy territory. Colleagues averted their eyes. Whispers followed him like ghosts. Sarah from marketing stared openly, phone already out, probably texting someone. Mike from operations pretended to study the directory board. Cole kept his head up. Walked steady. Made it to Wacker Drive before his hands started shaking. Outside, the October cold cut through his too-tight suit jacket. He started toward the L station. No company car anymore when footsteps pounded behind him. Harper, wait! Todd Williams jogged to catch up, tie already loosened despite the early hour. CFO of a $340 million company running down the sidewalk past a Starbucks to catch a suspended driver. Cole kept walking past tourists and morning commuters. I don't want to get you in trouble too. Todd fell into step beside him. Listen to me. Morrison's been angling for Rachel's position for years. There are people on the board who've wanted her out since she became CEO, old money types who think a woman CEO is too emotional, too focused on employee welfare instead of shareholder value. This gives them ammunition. Cole stopped at the crosswalk light red. So I'm collateral damage. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. The light changed. They crossed. Why are you telling me this? Because what happened to you isn't right. Todd glanced around, lowered his voice. And because Morrison left the gala at 10:47, Rachel was still inside drinking. He could have helped her. He's her VP, has her personal cell. Her emergency contacts could have called her assistant or driver without getting personally involved. He chose not to. You think he did this on purpose, set her up? Todd pulled out his iPhone, showed Cole something on screen. I've been digging. That photo that leaked on Slack, it came from an anonymous account created at 5:55 a.m. Saturday morning. But our IT guy tracked the IP address back to the building. Someone accessed our security footage database at 5:47 a.m. using admin credentials. Who? Guess whose employee badge and login were used? Morrison's. Todd nodded. Everything's timestamped in our ADP system. His credentials accessed the security server at 5:47 a.m. Anonymous Slack account created at 5:55. Photo posted at 6 Hizuri. Morrison escalating to the board at 6:47. He orchestrated the whole thing. Cole's mind raced. Why, what does destroying me accomplish? It's not about you, it's about Rachel. Board meets in 2 weeks. Morrison's going to push for her removal. Use your situation as evidence of poor judgment. CEO gets drunk, spends night with employee, creates massive liability exposure. Doesn't matter that nothing happened. The appearance is enough. So I'm just the weapon. You're proof she's unfit. At least that's the narrative he's selling. Todd checked his watch. I have to get back. But Harper, don't just accept this. Fight back. Find evidence. Build your case. Because if you go down quietly, Rachel goes down too. He jogged back toward the building, leaving Cole on the corner of Wacker and Clark, with 48 hours of suspension stretching ahead like a prison sentence. Cole's apartment felt smaller after the penthouse. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, kitchen barely big enough for 2 people. But it was home. It smelled like Maya's strawberry shampoo and Mrs. Rodriguez's cooking, and the faint ghost of Sarah's perfume that he swore still lingered in the bedroom closet. He made coffee in the Mr. Coffee machine, hands still shaking. Opened his MacBook at the kitchen table. Company Slack beckoned. The hashed general channel had exploded overnight. 400 messages now. He scrolled through them, taking screenshots, building evidence. New anonymous account, 7:23 a.m. Just saying if this was CEO plus intern instead of CEO plus driver, we'd all be screaming harassment. Double standard much at Jennifer.sales, 7:31 a.m. Exactly. Power dynamics don't disappear just because she's a woman. Todd.Williams, 7:45 a.m. Let's not jump to conclusions. We don't know what happened. Dan ist of Frank Morrison, 7:52 a.m. I've spoken with the board. We take these matters extremely seriously. Investigation ongoing. Updates to follow. Morrison positioning himself as the voice of accountability, the moral authority, the protector of company values. Cole kept scrolling. Found defenders too. At patricia.marketing. 8:15 a.m. I've worked with Harper for 2 years. He's never been anything but professional and kind. Maybe we should wait for facts at David. It's to 23 a.m. Anyone else think it's weird that photo leaked from an anonymous account who had access to security footage? Smart question, David. Cole screenshotted it. At Mike.operations. 8:47 a.m. I was at the gala. Saw Morrison leave early while Sterling was still there. If he was so concerned, why didn't he help her? Another screenshot. The truth was they're buried in 400 messages waiting for someone to piece it together. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mr. Harper, this is Marcus Webb, attorney at law. I represent a party interested in resolving this situation quietly and professionally. We should talk. Today if possible. Marcus Webb, Morrison's personal attorney, same one who'd texted Saturday. Cole called back. 3 rings. Harper, good. You're being smart. Smooth voice, expensive education, evident in every syllable. Can you meet this afternoon Intelligentsia Coffee Lincoln Park? Say 2 o'clock, I'll be there. Excellent. This doesn't have to be difficult. We can find a solution that works for everyone. The call ended. Cole stared at his phone. Morrison was moving fast, offering settlements before the investigation even concluded, which meant Morrison had something to hide, something worth paying to bury. Intelligentsia sat on Broadway, all exposed brick and reclaimed wood and local art, the kind of hipster coffee shop that served pour-overs instead of drip and charged $6 for the privilege. Cole arrived 15 minutes early, ordered black coffee, sat with his back to the wall facing the door. Construction site habits never died. Marcus Webb entered at precisely 2 o'clock. Early 40s Brooks Brothers suit, Rolex visible under his sleeve. He scanned the room, found Cole approached with the confidence of someone who'd never lost a negotiation, slid into the booth across from Cole, set a manila envelope on the reclaimed wood table between them. Mr. Harper, thank you for meeting. No handshake. Straight to business. I represent a concerned party who believes this situation has escalated unnecessarily. Inside that envelope is a severance agreement. 6-month salary, $48,000. You sign an NDA, agree not to discuss the incident with anyone, and this all goes away. Clean reference help finding a new position, maybe with Uber Lyft, one of the delivery services. Fresh start. Cole didn't touch the envelope. Who's the concerned party? That's confidential, but they have your best interests at heart. Morrison. Webb's expression didn't change. If you don't sign, the investigation continues. Maybe they find policy violations. Maybe your employment is terminated for cause instead of with severance. Maybe the story gets worse before it gets better. He leaned back. You have a daughter, Mr. Harper. 9 years old, I believe. Maya. Attends Lakeview Elementary. Wouldn't it be better for her if this just ended? If you moved on quietly, gave her stability instead of dragging her through a public scandal? Cold rage crystallized in Cole's chest. How do you know about my daughter? It's a generous offer. $48,000 is more than most people in your position would see. Think about it. Cole slid the envelope back across the table. I don't need to think about it. I'm not for sale, and neither is the truth. Webb's expression hardened, professional mask slipping. You're making a mistake. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. You think you're protecting Rachel Sterling. She won't do the same for you when the board comes calling. You're expendable. You're a driver. She's a CEO protecting a $340 million company. Guess who the board sacrifices? Cole stood. The only thing I'd regret is teaching my daughter that integrity has a price tag. He walked out, left his coffee half-finished, left Marcus Webb sitting alone with his envelope and his threats and his certainty that everyone could be bought. Outside, October wind cut through his jacket. His hands shook. Not fear now, but fury. They'd threatened his daughter, mentioned her school, made it clear they'd researched him, knew his vulnerabilities, were willing to use Maya as leverage. The game had changed. Friday afternoon, email from Jennifer Watkins arrived while Cole helped Maya with math homework. Fractions. Sarah had been good at math. He wasn't. The subject line made his stomach drop. Investigation update, reinstatement with conditions. He opened it on his iPhone while Maya colored in her workbook. Mr. Harper. After a thorough investigation, including security footage, review witness interviews, and consultation with legal counsel, we have determined that no policy violations occurred on October 20th, 21st. You are cleared of any wrongdoing. However, concerns remain regarding the appearance of impropriety and potential impact on company morale. Therefore, your reinstatement is subject to the following conditions. 1. You are prohibited from assignments involving Ms. Sterling without secondary personnel present. 2. You must complete mandatory professional boundaries training via our HR online portal within 30 days. 3. Any future incidents involving questionable judgment will result in immediate termination. These conditions protect all parties and demonstrate Sterling Technologies' commitment to maintaining appropriate workplace boundaries. You may return to work Monday, October 30th. Please confirm receipt. Jennifer Watkins, Director of Human Resources. Maya looked up from her coloring. Is that about work? Yes, sweetheart. They want me to come back Monday. That's good, right? He forced a smile. Yeah, that's good. But you don't look happy. I'm happy, just tired. She studied him with those brown eyes. Too wise, too perceptive. It's okay to be tired, Daddy. Mom was tired a lot too, but she still smiled at me. The comparison shattered him. Maya was right. Sarah had smiled through chemo exhaustion, through pain that would have broken anyone else, through knowing she was dying and leaving her daughter behind. If Sarah could smile through that, Cole could smile through this, but the restrictions felt like punishment, cleared of wrongdoing but branded anyway. The scarlet letter of questionable judgment permanently attached to his file. Monday morning. Return to Sterling Technologies. The Mercedes S-Class sat in its usual spot in the company garage, keys returned by HR. Cole ran his hand along the hood, same car from that night before climbing in. Checked the inspection sheet on the clipboard. Everything in order. First assignment came through the company app. O'Hare Pickup Terminal 3, 10:15 a.m. Patricia Miller, Marketing VP. He'd driven her before. Professional kind, one of the good ones. He navigated to O'Hare via I-90 muscle memory, guiding the Mercedes through traffic, held the sign at Terminal 3 arrivals. Patricia emerged with Toomey luggage, smiled when she saw him. Harper, good to see you back. He loaded her bags, opened the rear door, slid behind the wheel. Kennedy Expressway back to the city. Morning traffic flowing steady. Harper, I wanted to say something. Patricia's voice came from the back seat, measured and careful. What you did for Rachel that night, helping her get home safely, that took character. I don't believe the rumors. He caught her eye in the rear view. Thank you, ma'am. That means more than you know. Morrison's been spreading poison for years. Some of us see through it. She looked out the window at Chicago passing by. Be careful. He doesn't forgive people who make him look bad. Lunch break. The driver's lounge in the basement lockers. Formica table break room with Mr. Coffee pot that had been there since the 90s. Tom and James sat at the table when Cole entered. Awkward silence fell like a curtain. Cole poured Maxwell House coffee from the pot, sat down. Waited. 5 minutes of silence. Then Tom cleared his throat. Harper, heard you got reinstated. Yeah. That's good. Tom shifted uncomfortably. Look, man, I don't know what happened that night, but the whole thing's been weird. Morrison's been saying... Cole's voice stayed calm but firm. I don't care what Morrison's been saying. I drove Ms. Sterling home because she needed help. I stayed because she asked me to. Nothing happened. That's the truth. Whether people believe it or not. James, other driver, older guy, 20 years with the company, nodded slowly. For what it's worth, I believe you. Morrison's always been a snake. Remember when he tried to get Jerry fired over that fender bender in the executive garage, claimed Jerry was drunk? Jerry doesn't even drink. Tom nodded. Yeah, I remember that. Morrison had it out for Jerry because Jerry wouldn't drive him to that casino in Indiana. Against company policy. Morrison doesn't care about policy, James said. He cares about power. You got in his way somehow, Harper. That's why he's coming for you. I didn't get in his way. I just helped someone. Exactly. James took a sip of terrible coffee. You made him look bad. He left early, didn't help the CEO, and you did. Makes him look like the asshole he is. Can't have that. Small solidarity. Not everyone had abandoned him. Some people still saw the truth underneath Morrison's narrative. It wasn't much, but it was something. Tuesday morning, Cole's day off. Text from Todd Williams came at 8:47 a.m. Need to talk, coffee, same place as before, intelligentsia again. Cole arrived at 9, ordered his usual black coffee, found Todd already in a booth with documents spread on the table. Harper, Todd gestured for him to sit. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Todd slid a manila folder across the table. Inside board meeting agenda for Friday. Morrison presenting Leadership Accountability Review. He's using you as the excuse to take her down. Look at the bullet points. Cole read, recent incident involving CEO and subordinate employee. Questions regarding executive judgment in sensitive situations. Potential liability exposure from workplace conduct. Need for enhanced oversight and accountability measures. Recommendation for leadership assessment and potential restructuring. Restructuring means removing her as CEO, Todd said quietly. Morrison's been circulating this to board members all week. They're getting briefing documents via DocuSign, private meetings in conference rooms I'm not invited to. He's building consensus. For what? Forced resignation, or a vote of no confidence. Either way, Rachel's out. Morrison steps in as interim CEO. Within 6 months, he makes it permanent. Todd tapped the document. That photo on Slack was just the opening move. This Friday is checkmate. Cole's mind raced. That photo came from Morrison's credentials. You said I traced it. I said it. Can't prove it in a way the board would accept. Morrison's attorney would claim someone stole his login. Happens all the time. And the anonymous Slack account created from an IP address that's public Wi-Fi at a Starbucks on Michigan Avenue. Untraceable. So he covers his tracks. Morrison's been planning this for months, maybe longer. Your situation gave him the perfect opportunity, a CEO showing poor judgment in a situation involving alcohol and a subordinate. Doesn't matter that nothing happened. The optics alone are enough to raise questions. Cole stared at the agenda. What happens to me if Rachel gets removed? Morrison becomes CEO. You're gone within a week. He'll manufacture some cause for termination. Maybe you showed up late. Maybe you failed the professional boundaries training. Maybe your car inspection was sloppy. Something small enough to be plausible, big enough to justify firing. And Rachel leaves with a severance package and an NDA. Morrison gets what he's wanted for 5 years. Board gets a CEO who prioritizes shareholder value over employee welfare. Everyone wins except the people who actually matter. Todd gathered his documents. Board meets Friday at 2. Morrison presents at 2:30. By 3, Rachel's career is over. How do I stop it? Find evidence, real evidence, something concrete that proves Morrison orchestrated this, something the board can't ignore or explain away. Todd checked his watch. You have 4 days. He left. Cole sat alone with his coffee going cold, staring at the agenda that would end Rachel Sterling's career and, incidentally, destroy his own life. 4 days to find evidence Morrison had spent months hiding. Impossible odds. But Sarah had fought stage 4 cancer for 18 months. She'd shown up for every chemo session knowing it probably wouldn't work. She'd smiled at Maya every morning, knowing she wouldn't see her daughter grow up. If Sarah could face those odds, Cole could face these Thursday afternoon. Cole's assignment, pickup board member Robert Brennan from Union League Club, downtown Chicago. The club sat on Jackson Boulevard, all marble columns and old money, the kind of place where deals got made over scotch and handshakes. Brennan emerged at precisely 4:15 p.m. Navy blazer, American flag lapel pin, Northwestern class ring matching Morrison's. Climbed into the back seat already on his iPhone. Cole navigated loop traffic heading toward Sterling headquarters, listened to Brennan's half of a phone conversation. Yes, I received Morrison's brief. Very thorough. Concerning findings. Pause. I agree the optics are terrible. We have a fiduciary duty to shareholders. Another pause. I'll review everything before Friday's meeting. Yes? Thank you. He hung up. Silence for 3 blocks, then addressed Cole directly. You're Harper, the driver involved in the incident with Ms. Sterling. Cole's eyes stayed on Michigan Avenue traffic. Yes, sir. What do you think of Rachel Sterling as a leader? And I want an honest answer, not corporate BS. Careful territory, but Brennan had asked directly. I think she cares about her employees. I think she built something valuable here, and I think she's being judged unfairly for a situation that's been misrepresented. Most people in your position would be angry, would blame her for the mess you're in. I'm not most people, and it's not her fault that someone twisted a decent act into something ugly. Brennan studied Cole in the rear view. You're loyal, that's admirable. But loyalty doesn't change optics, and in business optics matter more than facts. They arrived at Sterling headquarters. Brennan got out, then leaned back into the car. For what it's worth, Mr. Harper, I believe you did the right thing that night. The problem isn't what you did, it's what it revealed about the company's culture and Ms. Sterling's judgment in situations involving alcohol and vulnerability. Board members have fiduciary responsibilities. We can't ignore red flags even when the person raising them has good intentions. He closed the door. Cole watched him enter the building, phone already out, probably calling another board member. The fix was in. Even believing Cole's innocence, they'd still question Rachel's leadership. Morrison had poisoned the well so thoroughly that truth didn't matter anymore. Friday, 4:30 p.m. Cole sat in the Mercedes on Wacker Drive engine, idling assignment showing on the company app O'Hare Pickup Terminal 5 International Arrivals. 3:00 p.m. Board meeting at 2 p.m. Morrison presenting at 2:30. Cole dispatched to the airport specifically to remove him from the building during the execution. His phone rang. Rachel Sterling, breaking the no-contact rule. He answered on Bluetooth. Ms. Sterling. Cole, I need you back at the building. Executive conference room. Now. Ma'am, I'm on my way to the airport for a Terminal 5 pickup. Forget the airport. I need you here in 20 minutes. Please. Urgency in her voice, not panic. Steel. I'm turning around now. He took the Diamond Avenue exit, doubled back eastbound on I-90. 20-minute drive compressed to 15 through aggressive lane changes and yellow lights. Parallel parked badly outside Sterling headquarters, got honked at by a taxi. Didn't care. Ran to the elevators. Took them to 12. Conference room doors closed. Through glass full board seated around table. Rachel standing at the head. Morrison sitting smugly to her right. On the screen behind Rachel, video footage. Not the elevator photo. Something else. Cole pushed through doors. All heads turned. Rachel addressed him calmly. Thank you for coming, Mr. Harper. Please sit. Cole took a seat near back. Todd Williams there gave him a small nod. Rachel used a Logitech remote to play video on the 85-inch Samsung screen. Security footage. Timestamp 2:15 a.m., October 21st. Same night as the gala. Location Sterling Tower lobby. Rachel's building. Frank Morrison entered through revolving doors, checking his Apple Watch iPhone in hand. 2:22 a.m. elevator opened. Blonde woman emerged, 30s business attire, professional but hard to see clearly. Woman approached Morrison. Exchanged words, no audio. Morrison handed her a manila envelope. She took it, left through front entrance. Morrison checked iPhone, typed something, exited 2:27 a.m. Rachel paused the video. This footage shows Frank Morrison entering my residential building at 2:15 in the morning, while Cole Harper was upstairs ensuring I got home safely, meeting with an unknown woman, and leaving shortly after. The same night Frank has spent 2 weeks using to question my judgment and Mr. Harper's integrity. Morrison stood red-faced. That's completely irrelevant to this discussion. I was meeting a client from our West Coast office. Rachel's voice cut like ice. At 2 in the morning, in my residential building, when you've spent 2 weeks claiming on Slack and in emails that anyone present in my building at that hour must have been engaged in something inappropriate. Robert Brennan leaned forward. Frank, I think you need to explain yourself. Now. Morrison's mouth opened, closed. No explanation came. Rachel walked around the table distributing printed documents, phone records, building logs, IT access records. Cole watched board members' expressions change as they read. AT&T phone records show 7 calls between Frank's number and an unknown number between 10 to 47 p.m. and 3:15 a.m. that night. Building security testimony confirms Frank asked my doorman which floor I lived on at 2:18 a.m. IT logs from our ADP system show Frank accessed our security footage database at 5:47 a.m. Saturday morning using his admin credentials. The anonymous Slack account that posted that photo traced to a device registered to Morrison Consulting LLC, Frank's side business registered in Delaware. Morrison deflated visibly. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just wanted to raise questions to show that your judgment was compromised, that maybe the board should consider other leadership options. I have 20 years' experience in Fortune 500 companies. Rachel leaned on the table, stared him down. Compromised because I had too much to drink on the anniversary of my son's death and needed help getting home. Because I asked for help and someone decent enough to provide it happened to be male. Or was my judgment compromised because you wanted my job and saw a chance to make me look weak? Silence. Morrison had no answer. Brennan's voice carried absolute authority. Frank, you have 30 seconds to resign or I'm calling for a vote to terminate you for cause. And I'll make damn sure you never work in this city again. Morrison looked around the table, saw no allies, stood. I resign. Walked to the door, slammed it behind him. The sound echoed like a gunshot. The door's slam echoed. Morrison gone. Board members shifted in Herman Miller chairs, exchanging glances that said everything. Shock calculation damage control already forming in corporate minds. Rachel remained standing at the head of the table. Didn't sit. Didn't relax. This wasn't over. This isn't just about Frank. Her voice carried steel wrapped in silk. This is about a culture that allowed this to happen. A culture where someone doing the right thing gets investigated, suspended, and publicly humiliated. A culture where perception matters more than truth. She looked directly at Cole. He froze. Cole Harper was suspended, investigated by Chicago PD, and subjected to trial by Slack because he did the right thing when everyone else walked away. He maintained his integrity even when it cost him. Even when his daughter faced judgment at school pickup. Even when he was offered $48,000 to stay silent. Brennan's eyebrows rose. Morrison offered you money. His attorney did, Marcus Webb, yesterday. Cole's voice steadied despite every eye on him. I said no. Rachel walked toward Cole, addressing the board but watching him. That's not just good character. That's the kind of leadership this company needs but doesn't cultivate. We reward quarterly results over human decency. We promote people who deliver numbers, regardless of how they deliver them. We've built a machine that crushes anyone who gets in its way. She stopped beside Cole's chair. I'm promoting Mr. Harper to Director of Ethics and Professional Standards effective immediately. His job will be to ensure that situations like this, where good people are punished for doing good things, never happen again at Sterling Technologies. The room erupted in murmurs. Cole's mind went blank. Ma'am, I don't have a degree from Northwestern or Wharton. I'm not qualified. You have the only qualification that matters. You know what it's like to do the right thing and be punished for it. You know how to maintain integrity when the world is telling you to compromise. That's not something you learn at Harvard Business School. Rachel faced the board. Budget allocation, $3.2 million annually. Reporting structure directly to me. 5-person team, full authority to investigate any employee at any level. Who's in favor? Silence stretched. Then Robert Brennan raised his hand. I am. Todd Williams, Patricia Miller, 3 others. Opposed, 3 hands, holdouts from the old guard. Motion carries. Mr. Harper, congratulations. Cole sat in stunned silence while board members filed out. Some shook his hand. Welcome aboard, good luck. Others avoided eye contact. The conference room emptied until only Rachel and Cole remained. She poured water from a Brita pitcher on the credenza, handed him a glass. How did you find that footage? His voice came out rough. Todd did. He's been investigating Frank for weeks, suspected something was off about how quickly the rumors spread. When he found footage of Frank entering my building at 2:15 a.m., he brought it to me last night. Took us until 4 this morning to compile everything else. Cole's hands shook, holding the water glass. I don't know what to say. Rachel sat across from him, exhaustion finally showing. You don't have to say anything. You kept your word that night. You stayed when I asked. You maintained your integrity when people questioned it. That's everything. She handed him a folder from Staples. Your team. 5 people I've pulled from different departments. Each one has experienced or witnessed something that made them question whether Sterling Technologies lives up to its values. Cole opened it. Profiles printed on company letterhead. Angela Winters, 33, HR. Filed 3 harassment complaints. All ignored David Carter. Witnessed racial discrimination in hiring. Jennifer Ross. Finance supervisor stealing her work for 2 years. Michael Torres, 35 operations. Faced retaliation for reporting safety violations. Lisa Ramirez, 31 communications. Experienced pregnancy discrimination. Your first job is to meet with them, hear their stories, and figure out what needs to change. These people stayed because they believed or wanted to believe that things could get better. Your job is to prove they were right to stay. Cole stared at the profiles. 5 lives. 5 stories of pain that looked exactly like his own. What happens when people fight me? Morrison wasn't an anomaly. He was a symptom. Then we fight back. With transparency, with consequences, with the understanding that culture change doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. One honest conversation at a time. Rachel stood, gathered her materials, paused at the door. Thank you, Cole, for everything. For that night. For refusing Morrison's bribe. For showing me what integrity looks like when it costs something. She left. Cole sat alone in the conference room holding a folder that weighed 50 pounds despite being paper. Outside the windows, Chicago stretched endless under October clouds. Somewhere in that city, Maya sat in Lakeview Elementary, learning fractions, Mrs. Rodriguez probably had soup on the stove for dinner. Life continued while Cole's had just transformed completely. Driver to director in 2 hours. Impossible. Terrifying. Necessary. He pulled out his phone, texted Maya. Big news when I get home. Really big. I love you. Her reply. Love you too. Daddy, did you be brave? Yes, sweetheart. I was brave. And it worked. 1 week later. Cole stood in the doorway of his new office. Couldn't quite enter yet. Window overlooking Chicago River. Dark wood desk from Crate and Barrel, Herman Miller, Aeron chair that probably cost more than his monthly rent. Nameplate gleamed, Cole Harper, Director of Ethics and Professional Standards. Bookshelf empty, waiting to be filled. 2 guest chairs, small conference table with Polycom phone. Everything new. Everything. His everything impossible. Todd Williams appeared with 2 Starbucks cups, Grande Pike Place for Cole Venti, Americano for himself. Rachel spared no expense. She wanted to make a statement. Cole accepted the coffee. Still hadn't entered. What kind of statement? That integrity matters here. That the people who live it get rewarded, not punished. Todd sipped his Americano. You going to actually go inside? Yeah, just taking it in. How are you feeling? Honestly terrified. I don't have an MBA from Kellogg. I've never managed anyone. I don't even know what a director of ethics actually does beyond the obvious. You do what you did that night with Rachel. You see someone who needs help and you help them. The title just gives you authority to do it on a larger scale. Cole finally entered, sat in the chair, too big, too new leather creaking. Dell computer already set up Outlook email active charper at sterlingtech.com. Calendar showed 10 a.m. Meeting with Rachel, mission brief. The imposter syndrome settled like weight on his chest. But Sarah's voice echoed, "Make a difference, not just money. Help people, not just yourself." "Okay, Sarah. I'm trying." Rachel didn't stay behind her desk for the mission brief. She and Cole walked through the 9th floor together, her pointing out employees in cubicles telling their stories quietly. "See that woman by the Xerox printer, Angela Winters? 3 harassment complaints against her former manager, all buried because he golfed with the COO at Medina Country Club." Angela looked up, saw them, fear flashing across her face before professional mask descended. "Young guy in IT wearing the Cubs jersey, David Carter. He flagged discriminatory interview questions in our greenhouse recruiting platform last year. HR told him to not rock the boat." David typed on dual Dell monitors, shoulders hunched, like expecting punishment. They returned to Rachel's office. She pulled up a McKinsey report on her MacBook commissioned 6 months ago, buried because the findings were too damning. Key statistics. 63% of employees experienced misconduct in past year. 90% didn't report because they didn't trust system to protect them. Annual turnover rate. 23% industry average from Bureau of Labor Statistics. 14%. Exit interview analysis from ADP. Toxic culture mentioned in 47% of departures. I was so focused on growth, on market share, on quarterly NASDAQ earnings that I didn't see what was rotting underneath. Frank Morrison wasn't an outlier. He was the natural result of a system that rewards results over people. So my job is to fix it. Build a system where people feel safe speaking up, where accountability is real, where incidents like what happened to you never happen again. She handed him a detailed folder from FedEx office. "Start with your team. Hear their stories. Then figure out what needs to change. What happens when I run into resistance, when other VPs push back? We fight back with transparency, with consequences, and with the understanding that culture change is a marathon, not a sprint. But it does happen one honest conversation at a time." Purpose crystallized. This wasn't just a job. This was warfare against the system that had almost destroyed him, and he had 5 soldiers who'd survived the same battles. Time to build an army. The first case. Jennifer Ross. Jennifer sat clutching a Target folder like a shield, Starbucks cup trembling in her hand. 26 years old, dark circles under eyes that had seen too much corporate cruelty. Cole sat across from her, not behind the desk, equal level. "Jennifer, I'm Cole. Thank you for coming. I understand you've been dealing with a difficult situation." "I didn't know who else to talk to. Everyone says you're someone who actually listens." "I'll do my best. Tell me what's been happening." The story emerged in fragments. Supervisor Richard Klein, 48, senior analyst, 12 years at Sterling University of Illinois, MBA. Jennifer developed an Excel forecasting model, saving 30 hours monthly of department work. Klein praised her privately, then presented it at quarterly business reviews as his own creation. When Jennifer tried to correct the record, Klein warned, "Making waves will hurt your career." Happened 4 more times over 2 years. Her work his credit. Each complaint to HR via Workday met the same response. "This is normal workplace mentorship dynamics. Be a team player." Jennifer opened her folder. Outlook emails with timestamps. SharePoint file histories. PowerPoint presentations, Slack messages, documentation spanning 24 months. I have witnesses who've seen him do this to other people, but no one will listen because Richard's been here 12 years, went to U of I with the VP, and I'm... She trailed off. You're what? Replaceable. That's what he told me at Starbucks one day. Junior analysts are a dime a dozen. If you don't like how things work here, there are plenty of people who'd take your job. DePaul churns out finance grads every May. Anger coiled in Cole's chest. Recognition of his own experience mirrored perfectly. Jennifer, what you're describing isn't normal workplace dynamics. It's theft. It's abuse of power, and it's exactly what this office exists to stop. So you'll help me? I'll do more than help you. I'll make sure this never happens to anyone else. 3 weeks. The investigation, Cole learned his new role through immersion. Interviewed 4 current employees, all confirmed Klein's pattern. Tracked down 2 former employees via LinkedIn who'd left because of Klein. Compared project timelines in Asana with PowerPoint presentation dates in SharePoint. Found 17 instances over 5 years. HR records in Workday showed Klein's victims complained 8 times, all dismissed as misunderstandings. Klein delivered results. Department productivity high in Salesforce metrics, had friends in senior management from the same MBA program at University of Illinois. Pattern clear the system, protected results over people. Always had. Always would unless someone changed it. Late nights with Angela Winters reviewing HR files, Dunkin' coffee cups everywhere. David Carter pulling at logs from ADT security systems showing Klein's email deletions covering his tracks, destroying evidence. Jennifer Ross identifying other victims. That happened to Sarah Chen too, and Michelle Rodriguez, former employee via Skype. I left because no one would listen. I'm glad someone finally is. 3 weeks to build an ironclad case. Cole worked like he had on construction sites, methodical, thorough, leaving nothing to chance. One mistake could destroy credibility. One gap could let Klein slip through. The presentation. First termination. Tuesday afternoon, executive conference room. Cole presented findings to Rachel and the leadership team using poster boards from Staples, printed photos of Jennifer, Sarah, Michelle. Made it personal, not abstract. Presented evidence, Outlook emails, witness statements typed in Word, pattern analysis in Excel spreadsheets showing 17 instances of credit theft over 5 years. 8 HR complaints ignored in Workday. 3 employees quit because of Klein. Department success built on stolen innovation tracked in Salesforce. Richard Klein didn't build this department's reputation. He stole it from people like Jennifer Ross, Sarah Chen, and Michelle Rodriguez. And when they complained via Workday, the system protected him because he delivered quarterly numbers that looked good in our investor decks. Patricia Miller, new CFO, replaced Morrison, leaned forward. What are your recommendations? Klein should be terminated immediately for policy violations, but that's just the symptom. We need company-wide review of similar situations and new protections for people who report misconduct. Brennan attended via Zoom, skepticism evident. This is strong evidence, Mr. Harper, but implementation is the challenge. How do we change the culture that allowed this training, transparency, and consequences that matter? People don't believe change is real until they see it enforced. Klein's termination sends a message, but only if we're public about why it happened. Cole distributed his new policy drafted in Google Docs with Angela's help. Protected reporting channel via anonymous hotline managed by Ethics Point. Third-party investigations mandated. Clear consequences for retaliation up to termination documented in Employee Handbook. Rachel didn't hesitate. Approved. Klein is terminated effective immediately. Angela worked with Cole to draft the company-wide Slack announcement. The announcement. Dam breaks. Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. Central. Rachel's announcement to all 847 employees via Hatch General Slack channel at channel. Important announcement regarding personnel change and ethics policy updates. Effective immediately, Richard Klein is no longer employed by Sterling Technologies. Following a thorough investigation by our Ethics and Professional Standards Department, we determined that Mr. Klein repeatedly violated company policy by claiming credit for work produced by subordinates. This behavior is unacceptable and contrary to our values of integrity and respect. We are grateful to Jennifer Ross for her courage in reporting this misconduct through proper channels. Going forward, new reporting channels and protections are available through the Ethics Office ethics@sterlingtech.com and our anonymous Ethics Point hotline, 1-800-XXX. If you have experienced or witnessed similar behavior, we encourage you to come forward. Your concerns will be taken seriously, investigated thoroughly, and addressed with appropriate action. Rachel Sterling. CEO. Response immediate and overwhelming. By noon, 23, emails to ethics@sterlingtech.com. By end of day 47, emails in Outlook. 19 voicemails in Ring Central system. Stories buried for years surfacing, harassment, discrimination. OSHA, safety violations, Sarbanes-Oxley, financial impropriety. The dam broke, suppressed truth flooding out. Cole and team worked until 9, sorting reports in Excel, prioritizing cases, ordering Lou Malnati's deep dish pizza for dinner. Angela reviewing emails, overwhelmed. Cole, we're going to need more people. I had no idea it was this bad. Neither did I. But now we know. And now we fix it. Validation and momentum. But also realization the rot went deeper than anyone imagined. 6 months later, the crisis April. Spring sunlight through office windows. Cubs opening day bunting visible on nearby buildings. Cole's office had expanded, wall knocked down, now 18 people working in Herman Miller cubicles, daily stand-ups via Zoom. Tuesday morning. Todd Williams appeared at Cole's door, iPad in hand, expression troubled. We have a problem. Cole looked up from case files. What kind of problem? The board. They're questioning your budget. Robert Brennan is leading the charge, says the ethics office cost $3.2 million last quarter according to QuickBooks financials with no measurable ROI. ROI? We're not a profit center tracked in Salesforce. I know, but company stock on NASDAQ dipped slightly last quarter. Some board members are blaming negative publicity from all the terminations reported in Crane's Chicago business. They want to cut your staff by half and limit your authority to cases that pose legal liability under Illinois employment law. Cole stood paced by the window overlooking Chicago River. So go back to ignoring everything that isn't a lawsuit waiting to happen. Basically, Rachel's fighting it, but she's getting pressure from multiple directions, shareholders, board members, even some VPs. Board meets in 2 weeks. You need to present your case in PowerPoint, show them tangible results from our ADP and Salesforce data, prove the ethics office isn't just a cost center in our P&L. 2 weeks. Cole had faced worse odds, but the stakes felt higher now, not just his job, but the jobs of 17 people who'd joined him in fixing Sterling's broken culture. The doubt. Maya questions the school pickup. Maya climbed into the Honda Accord wearing Justice brand clothes, Paw Patrol backpack still on, usually chatty about American Girl dolls. Today, silent. Cole drove down Clark Street, WGN radio playing softly. How was school, Lil? Fine. Just fine. What about the career day presentation you were excited about? She turned to him. We had a lesson about choosing careers. Mrs. Patterson asked what we wanted to be when we grow up. And what did you say? I said I wanted to be like you. Someone who helps people and makes things fair. Pause. But then Tyler said that jobs like that don't matter because they don't make money. He said his dad, who works at Goldman Sachs, says people who work in ethics are just troublemakers who make it harder for companies to do business and hurt stock prices. Cole's jaw tightened. What did you say back? I told him his dad was wrong, that helping people always matters even if it doesn't make money or show up in the Wall Street Journal, that my dad has one of the most important jobs in the world. Her voice wavered. But then Tyler laughed and some other kids laughed too, and I felt stupid. Cole pulled into Whole Foods parking lot, turned to face her. Lily, listen to me. What you said to Tyler was exactly right. Helping people does matter. Making things fair does matter. And anyone who tells you otherwise is probably someone who's benefiting from unfairness and doesn't want it to change, like Tyler's dad probably makes money from companies cutting corners. But what if Tyler's right? What if your job doesn't matter to the people who make decisions on CNBC? It matters to the people it helps, and that's who I work for, not the people in boardrooms on Michigan Avenue counting money, but the people doing actual work who deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. But what if they make you stop? Then I'll know I tried, and you know what your mom used to say? At the end of your life, nobody wishes they'd made more money or got written up in Fortune 500. They wish they'd made more of a difference. The difference you make in people's lives, that's what matters. That's what lasts. Maya studied him with Sarah's eyes, then nodded, satisfied. But Cole's own doubts crystallized. Could he prove the ethics office's value in terms a board would accept? Could he translate human dignity into ROI? He had 2 weeks to figure it out. The preparation, building the defense. 2 weeks compressed into 16-hour days. Team working late, Domino's pizza boxes stacked, Starbucks venti cups everywhere. Whiteboards from Staples covered with statistics and expo markers. Angela and David running Excel models on dual Dell monitors. Jennifer creating PowerPoint slides with company data from Salesforce. Cole reviewing everything in his moleskin notebook, making notes with a Pilot G2 pen. Data compilation, employee retention analysis from ADP. Before ethics office, 8 employees, month resigned, 96 year. After ethics office departments with investigations, 5 employees/month, 43% reduction. Lawsuit avoidance tracked in records. 4 situations prevented from escalating. $200K average cost each, per Illinois employment law, equals $800K saved. Employee satisfaction surveys from SurveyMonkey. Trust in leadership, 31%, 68%. Would recommend Sterling on Glassdoor, 23%, 59%. Feel safe reporting concerns via Ethics Point, 18%, 62%. Productivity metrics from Salesforce departments where misconduct addressed, plus 12% average. Angela at 2 a.m., exhausted, drinking Red Bull. Cole, the numbers from QuickBooks and ADP are good, really good, but will the board care about anything except NASDAQ stock price? Numbers aren't enough. They need to see the human beings behind the statistics from LinkedIn and employee surveys. Jennifer, can you come here? Jennifer walked over. What's up? Tell me again what happened after Klein was fired. How did your department change? Productivity tracked in Salesforce went up 18%. Employee NPS scores on SurveyMonkey doubled. 3 people who were planning to leave, including me, stayed. And 2 of us developed innovations using Microsoft tools that saved the company over $500,000 in annual costs, according to our finance team's QuickBooks analysis. Cole turned to his team. That's the story. Jennifer's story. Real person, real impact, real ROI that matters more than Wall Street cares about. Determination and preparation. They wouldn't go down without a fight. The board presentation. Data meets heart. Thursday, 2 p.m. Central. Cole arrived 90 minutes early, wearing his newer Brooks Brothers suit. Rachel had used corporate Amex to buy it after the promotion. Carried MacBook and poster boards from FedEx office. Rachel met him outside the conference room, straightened his Nordstrom tie. Remember, Brennan isn't your enemy. He's doing his fiduciary duty as board member, protecting shareholder value and NASDAQ price. Your job is to show him that protecting people and protecting profits measured in quarterly earnings aren't mutually exclusive. And if I can't convince them, then we fight anyway. Some things are worth fighting for even if we lose in stock drops. Board seated 12 faces ranging from supportive Patricia Miller to hostile Brennan, 2 others from private equity firms. Cole didn't sit at the podium, walked around the room with poster boards printed at Kinko's, making eye contact with each member using Logitech remote for PowerPoint. Brennan opened. Mr. Harper, we appreciate the work you've done according to reports in our SharePoint, but this department cost $3.2 million last quarter per our CFO's QuickBooks analysis. Where's the measurable return on that investment that shareholders care about? Cole began with Jennifer Ross's story. Showed her photo on the poster board from Shutterfly. Before I show you Excel spreadsheets and Salesforce dashboards, I want to tell you about Jennifer Ross. 26 years old, junior analyst with a DePaul finance degree, developed an Excel forecasting model that saved her department 30 hours a month. Her supervisor stole credit for her work not once but 5 times over 2 years. When Jennifer complained via our Workday HR system, she was told to be a team player. She was planning to quit and write about it on Glassdoor. He showed the timeline. After we terminated her supervisor, 3 things happened tracked in our ADP and Salesforce systems. Department productivity increased 18%. Employee NPS satisfaction scores on SurveyMonkey doubled. And Jennifer and 2 colleagues who were planning to leave and probably trash us on LinkedIn stayed and developed innovations using our Microsoft Office suite that saved Sterling over $500,000 annually per our finance team's analysis. Pause. Let it land. Jennifer's story isn't unique according to our ethics point data. It's replicated across every department where we've investigated misconduct and implemented changes. People who feel valued work harder, stay longer, and contribute more, according to Gallup research. People who feel exploited leave, taking their knowledge and innovations to our competitors, then posting negative Glassdoor reviews that hurt recruiting. Board members leaning forward now. The numbers. ROI proof. Cole distributed 1-page summaries printed at FedEx office, prepared by Angela in Microsoft Word. Walked through retention data on PowerPoint screen. Let's talk ROI in terms measured quarterly in our NASDAQ filings and Wall Street analyst reports. Turnover costs per ADP data. Before ethics office. 8 employees resigned per month, tracked in Workday 96 per year. Industry standard replacement cost per SHRM research, $75,000 per employee, recruiting via LinkedIn training. Lost productivity. Annual turnover cost, $7.2 million, according to our CFO's QuickBooks analysis. After ethics office, 4.5 employees per month in departments where we've intervened per our ADP retention reports. That's a 43% reduction that shows up in our quarterly investor presentations. Annual savings $3.9 million, certified by our external auditors at Deloitte. The ethics office costs $3.2 million per quarter, per our P&L, or roughly $12.8 million annually. But we're generating $3.9 million in turnover savings alone, tracked in ADP. Add in lawsuit avoidance, we've prevented 4 situations from escalating to EEOC complaints, or Illinois employment law violations, saving an estimated $800,000 in legal fees. That's $7 million in measurable savings against $12.8 million in costs. We break even by end of year 2, shown in our pro forma financials. After that, pure savings flowing to bottom line and NASDAQ stock price. Patricia Miller. What about the negative publicity from terminations reported in Crane's Chicago business? Several board members expressed concern via email that we're developing a reputation for instability that hurts our Glassdoor rating. Fair concern. But consider the alternative: developing a reputation for tolerating abuse that goes viral on Reddit and Twitter. Which company would you rather work for? Which company would you want your daughter to work for? Which company attracts the best talent from Northwestern and University of Chicago in a competitive market? Pause. Glassdoor reviews before ethics office 2.8 stars with complaints about toxic culture. Current rating 4.1 stars with positive mentions of integrity. Applications per posted position on LinkedIn before 12. Current 47. We're not becoming known as unstable on Indeed or Monster. We're becoming known as a place that stands for something which Wall Street analysts actually value for long-term growth. Logic, reason, undeniable facts. Board members glancing at each other, reassessing. The final argument. What lasts? Cole's final PowerPoint slide, anonymous employee survey quote from SurveyMonkey, blown up on the Samsung 85-inch screen. For the first time in my 8 years here, I feel like I matter as a person, not just a productivity number in Salesforce. That makes me want to give this company my best work and recommend it on LinkedIn. You can quantify some of this in retention rates tracked in ADP and cost savings shown in QuickBooks and productivity metrics from Salesforce. But the real value is in building a company where good people want to work, stay, and give their best, which Deloitte research shows drives long-term shareholder value better than quarterly cost-cutting. That's not something you can put on a GAAP balance sheet, but it's everything that makes a balance sheet possible and keeps NASDAQ investors happy long-term. Brennan leaned back in his Herman Miller chair. Mr. Harper, you make a compelling case with hard data from our systems. But I have one question. What happens when you leave? What stops this from becoming bureaucratic red tape tracked in service, now that creates more problems than it solves? That's the right question to ask, sir. Right now, we need a dedicated office because we're fixing years of cultural rot that would have eventually shown up in SEC filings or EEOC complaints, but in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years tracked in our strategic planning. My hope is the ethics office becomes less necessary because everyone in the company understands that integrity isn't optional. It's how we do business and compete against other firms. If I've done my job right, you won't need me anymore. You'll have a company that's fundamentally sound per Sarbanes-Oxley standards, where people police themselves because they've internalized these values. Pause. But we're not there yet according to our ethics point data. And if we cut this office in half now, we're telling every employee who trusted us enough to come forward via our anonymous hotline that their trust was misplaced. That when push comes to shove, we choose quarterly savings shown in our investor deck over their dignity. I can't stop you from making that choice as fiduciaries. But I can tell you what it will cost based on Gallup research, and it's more than $3.2 million. It's our Glassdoor rating, our LinkedIn employer brand, and ultimately our NASDAQ stock price when word gets out on social media. Silence. Then Brennan, I move that we continue funding the ethics office at current levels for another fiscal year per our charter, at which point we review performance metrics from ADP and Salesforce. Patricia Miller. Second. Vote 8 in favor. 4 opposed. Brennan voted yes, converted by data and humanity combined. Motion carried. The victory. Tears and ice cream. After the meeting, Rachel caught Cole in the hallway, board members filing past. You did it. You actually convinced them with data they couldn't argue with. For now, the 4 who voted against will keep looking for reasons to shut us down and hurt our stock price. Let them look. You've got a year to prove them so wrong they'll be embarrassed when it shows up in our annual report. She squeezed his arm. Thank you, Cole, for everything. That evening, Cole picked up Maya from Mrs. Rodriguez. They walked 3 blocks to Jenny's Splendid Ice Creams, passing Wrigley Field's marquee advertising weekend games. Maya ordered Brambleberry Crisp after trying flavors on little pink spoons. They sat at an outdoor table, April evening sunset colors over Lake Michigan visible in the distance. The people I work for decided that what we're doing matters enough to keep doing it and funding it in the budget. Maya took a bite with her wooden spoon. Of course it matters. I told you that. Are you still worried about the board meeting? A little, but less than I was. Good. Because you're really good at your job, Daddy. Everyone knows that except Tyler's dumb dad. Do you think Mom would be proud of you? Cole's eyes filled with tears. One escaped down his cheek onto his Brooks Brothers shirt. He didn't wipe it away immediately. Let Maya see. Yeah, Lil. I think she would be. Maya reached across the wire table, touched his hand. It's okay to cry, Daddy. You always tell me that when I'm sad. It means something matters a lot. He laughed through tears, wiped his eyes with a Starbucks napkin from his pocket. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You're just noticing now. She grinned with Brambleberry on her teeth. 1 year later, Maya's 10th birthday, October again. Full circle. Maya's 10th birthday World Series season, Cubs in the playoffs. Cole had promised her a tour of his office. They walked through Sterling lobby, hand in hand, employees greeting Cole warmly. Respect now, not whispers. Starbucks cups in hand. Elevator to 9th floor. Office expanded again. Wall knocked down, now 23 people working in Herman Miller cubicles. Team members saw Maya gathered around near the Keurig machine. Angela. You must be Maya. Your dad talks about you all the time in our Zoom meetings. Maya grinned. Does he tell you I'm smarter than him? Angela laughed. He might have mentioned this. Team sang happy birthday off-key but warm. Someone had Portillo's chocolate cake from the break room. Maya walked around asking everyone questions, writing in her Justice brand notebook. What do you do? How do you help people? What's the coolest case you worked on tracked in Salesforce? David Carter showed her IT security dashboard on his Dell monitor. This tracks when people try to delete evidence from our Microsoft systems. We catch them. Jennifer Ross, now full team member, promoted, showed her case files in SharePoint. Your dad taught me how to stand up for myself, and now I teach others. Pride and legacy building. Maya seeing her father's transformation firsthand. The lunch. 3 lives changed. Shake Shack River North. Birthday lunch with Rachel and Maya. Modern design, Chicago skyline art on walls, milkshakes in branded cups. Maya studied Rachel while eating a Shack burger with cheese fries. You're the one my dad helped that night. The one who made him the ethics director instead of just a driver. That's right. Your dad did something very brave that night. He helped me when I needed it, even though it cost him a lot. He always helps people. That's just what he does. Like Captain America. Casual conversation flowed School American Girl dolls Maya's upcoming science fair project on ethics. I want to help people like my dad when I grow up. Maybe at Northwestern Medical School or teaching at Chicago Public Schools. I haven't decided yet. Whatever you choose, if you approach it with half the integrity your father has, you'll do remarkable things. Maya suddenly looked between Cole and Rachel with child's observational directness. Put down her shake. Do you like my dad? Rachel, caught off guard, set down her Chicago dog. Of course I do. He's an excellent, no, I mean like, because he smiles different when he talks about you before your Zoom meetings, and he gets all nervous and checks his Brooks Brothers tie in the mirror. Cole nearly spat out his cherry vanilla shake. Maya. What I'm just asking, Emma's parents met at Deloitte, and they got married at the Drake Hotel. If you like each other, that's what people do on The Bachelor. Rachel laughed, cheeks pink. Your daughter is very observant. I'm so sorry, Rachel addressed Maya gently. I think your dad is wonderful. But we work together, which makes things complicated according to our HR handbook in Workday. Sometimes grown-ups have to figure out what's appropriate per company policy and what's not. Maya considered this, dipping a fry in Shack sauce. Okay, but when you figure it out, you should tell him, because he's really good at helping people, but really bad at knowing when people like him. Mrs. Rodriguez says so too. Comic relief and emotional authenticity. Child cutting through adult pretense. Romantic possibility acknowledged but not forced. 18 months after the gala. Full circle. Present day. Cole walked through Sterling Building, transformed utterly from the invisible driver of 18 months ago. Colleagues greeted him. "Morning, Cole." "Hey, Harper. Good weekend watching the Bears." He responded, knew their names, their stories, their favorite Starbucks orders. Past the driver's lot in the underground garage, new drivers there now, one in Cole's old Mercedes. He nodded to them, remembering invisibility. Took the elevator to 9th floor. Paused at his office door. Read the nameplate from Things Remembered. Still surreal sometimes. Entered. Sat at his desk from Crate and Barrel. Looked at 2 framed photos from Michael's Sarah on their wedding day at St. Michael's Church. White David's bridal dress. Laughing, young and alive, and certain love conquered everything. Maya's recent school picture from Life Touch, gap-toothed grin, brown eyes, like Sarah's wearing an old navy shirt. New edition, Maya's drawing tacked to cork bulletin board from Staples. Stick figures caption in Crayola marker, "Heroes hold on." Opened Outlook email on his Dell monitor, new case report waiting. Subject, "I need help from Ethics Point. I don't know where else to turn." Employee described situation manager taking credit for her Python code echoes of Jennifer Ross. Cole Red recognized the familiar pattern from Salesforce tracking. Began typing response, fingers confident now. "Thank you for trusting me with this through our Ethics Point system. Your experience matters, and what you're describing is exactly the kind of situation this office exists to address per our mission statement. We will investigate thoroughly using our established protocols and take appropriate action. You are not alone in this. Let's set up a time via Calendly to talk this week. I'm available Tuesday through Thursday afternoons. Central Time. Cole Harper, Director of Ethics and Professional Standards, Sterling Technologies. Purpose fulfilled. Cycle continuing. Cole's work ongoing, but he was ready for it now. He hit send in Outlook, leaned back in his Herman Miller Aeron chair, looked out the window at Chicago River and the Wrigley Building beyond. 18 months ago, he'd woken in a Gold Coast penthouse he didn't belong in, facing accusations for doing the right thing. Thought his life was ending. Didn't know it was just beginning. The gala at the Palmer House that night wasn't a disaster. It was a crucible. The investigation by Chicago PD wasn't persecution. It was a test. And everything that came after the pain tracked in sleepless nights, the doubt whispered at Lakeview Elementary pickup, the slow rebuilding documented in ADP retention metrics, all of it was necessary to become the person sitting here now. You can't choose the moments that define you. You can only choose how you respond to them. He'd chosen integrity over self-preservation when Marcus Webb offered $48,000. Compassion over caution when he stayed that rainy night. And the belief, stubborn as a Chicago winter, may be foolish, that people deserved better than they were getting from Sterling Technologies. That choice cost him. Suspension. Investigation. His daughter crying about Emma's mom at school. But it gave him more than he could have imagined. A career tracked in Salesforce that mattered beyond quarterly earnings. A company changing its Glassdoor rating one case at a time. And a daughter who believed her father was a hero, not because he was perfect like Captain America, but because when someone was falling, he held on instead of letting go. That's what Sarah taught him at Northwestern Hospital in those last hard months. That's what he was teaching Maya at their kitchen table over Bisquick pancakes. And that's what he hoped someday Sterling Technologies would teach the world through their Ethics Point system. The measure of a person isn't their title from Harvard Business School or their wealth shown in NASDAQ stock prices. It's their willingness to help when help is needed, even when it costs them, especially when it costs them, because that's what heroes do in Chicago, in America, in life. They hold on. 1 year forward, Maya's science fair. Maya, now 11 years old, stood at Table 7 in Lakeview Elementary Gymnasium. Chicago Public Schools banner on the wall. Science fair tables from Costco set up. Parents with Starbucks cups milling around. Her project display board trifold from Michael's craft store bore the title in marker, Ethics in Everyday Life, a case study of my dad. Timeline with iPhone photos printed at Walgreens. October 2023. Dad helps CEO get suspended. Chicago PD investigation cleared him. Promoted to ethics director at Sterling Technologies. First case, Jennifer Ross. 47 employees come forward through ethics point. Board vote 8-4 to continue. Statistics made in Microsoft Excel. Maya made graphs. Employee trust from SurveyMonkey, 31%, 68%. Turnover reduction tracked in ADP, 43%. People helped through ethics office, 127 plus per our Salesforce database. Conclusion in Maya's handwriting with Crayola marker. Doing the right thing is always worth it, even when it's hard. My dad proved that at Sterling Technologies. American companies should care about people, not just profits. Maya presented to judges, parents, and teachers from Chicago public schools watching. She pointed to the timeline printed at FedEx office, explained clearly. Cole stood in back by the basketball hoop, watching with pride, holding Dunkin' coffee. Judge asked, "What did you learn from this project? That heroes aren't people with superpowers like in Marvel movies. They're people who help when other people walk away, like my dad did at the Palmer House Gala. That's real American values." Blue ribbon awarded. First place. Final image. That evening, Cole's apartment. Maya showed him the blue ribbon, and he pinned it to her bulletin board from Target next to her drawings and American Girl posters. They sat at the IKEA kitchen table doing homework together. Maya's math from her Pearson textbook, Cole reviewing a case file in Salesforce on his MacBook. Normal life. Changed life. Better life. I told everyone the truth at the science fair, Daddy, that doing the right thing is always worth it even when it's hard. Just like you showed me, Mrs. Patterson said that's what makes America great, people like you. He held her. Your mom would be so proud of you, Lil. She'd be proud of both of us. She looked at Sarah's photo from their wedding at Navy Pier. I think she's watching from heaven and smiling. They smiled, returned to work and homework. WGN radio played softly in the background. Cubs highlights. Playoff hopes still alive. Camera pulled back father and daughter at table lamp from Target casting warm light. On the wall, Sarah's wedding photo from St. Michael's Church watching over them. On the fridge held by Cubs magnets, Maya's drawings, Heroes Hold On photo of them at Wrigley Field. Life wasn't perfect, but it was good. Legacy secured. The story didn't end, it multiplied through the next generation of Americans who believed in integrity. Because heroes don't just save the day, they teach others how to save it too. And that's what lasts.